The film follows Nick Lowell, a former U.S. soldier locked up in a Japanese prison in 1954, serving a 10-year sentence. The opening scene shows Nick scrubbing the prison bathroom when 5 tough, tattooed guys walk out. One of them gives him a hard stare before leaving. Once they're gone, Nick steps inside and sees another prisoner hanging with his hands tied. Without hesitation, he yells for the guards while rushing to help the man. Another inmate jumps in to assist, and together they bring the man down. His body is covered in tattoos, marking him as someone important. Surprisingly, instead of praise, Nick gets dragged away and beaten alongside the other prisoner who helped him. The prison warden, clearly displeased, says something about a letter from the nearly dead man, hinting that a Yakuza member was supposed to be released soon. Nick, who doesn't understand Japanese, has no clue what's going on. Frustrated, the warden has him locked up in an isolation cell. Turns out, Nick's not alone. He's stuck in there with the very man he saved. The guy introduces himself as Kiyoshi, a Yakuza from the Shiramatsu clan. Kiyoshi lays out his escape plan and asks Nick for help. He had tried hanging himself to get transferred to a hospital where his clan would break him out. In exchange, he promises that if Nick helps, the Shiramatsu clan will return the favor someday. The plan goes into motion. During prison labor, Nick picks up a rock, sharpens it, and hands it to Kiyoshi. A few days later, back in the isolation cell, Kiyoshi stabs himself with the rock, telling Nick to make sure he survives and alert the guards. Everything plays out smoothly. Guards freak out, alarms blare, and Kiyoshi gets rushed out of prison. Fast forward, Nick is released earlier than expected. He steps out looking fresh, having shaved his beard and cut his hair. A car is waiting for him outside, and he's taken straight to the Shiramatsu headquarters in Osaka. The clan welcomes him with gratitude and offers him a job dealing with a business negotiation involving an American. Nick, with no better options, agrees. Later that night, with some money from the clan, Nick hits up a gambling den and a bar, where he meets a stunning Japanese woman. She catches his attention immediately, so he tips her generously. The next day, Kiyoshi takes Nick to a factory to meet Anthony Panetti, an American businessman who owns a metal factory. Shiramatsu wants to buy from him, but Panetti has already received a counteroffer from a rival Yakuza clan, Shizu. When words fail to persuade Panetti, Nick smashes a typewriter over his head, making him reconsider the deal. With the first job done, Nick and some Shiramatsu members celebrate at a bar. But the Shizu clan shows up, unhappy about what happened with Panetti. One of them keeps provoking Nick until he snaps, smashing a bottle over the guy's head. Tension rises, but before things get worse, Shiramatsu members pull out guns, forcing the Shizu guys to back off. Nick's boldness impresses Kiyoshi, who gives him a fancy apartment and invites him to officially join the Shiramatsu clan. Soon after, Kiyoshi brings him along to deal with a bar owner who's resisting the clan's control. When negotiations fail, Nick takes matters into his own hands, hitting the guy in the neck before Kiyoshi finishes the job. Later, at a Shiramatsu nightclub, Nick spots the same woman from the bar dancing. But Kiyoshi suddenly drags her away, scolding her. Turns out, she's his younger sister, Miyu, and he's not happy seeing her in such a place. When Nick is tasked with taking Miyu home, she invites him inside. One thing leads to another, and they end up together. He notices a Yakuza tattoo on her back, a sign of her deep ties to this world. The next day, Kiyoshi hands Nick a dangerous job. Buy weapons from a U.S. soldier without letting him know it's for the Shiramatsu clan. Nick heads to the docks for the deal, but instead of the soldier, he finds a corpse. Shizu members ambush him, attempting to steal the money meant for the weapons. Luckily, Nick had hidden the cash in the car, so they come up empty-handed. Furious, they decide to kill him. Forced to kneel, Nick plays along at first but quickly turns the tables, taking out 2 Shizu members in a brutal fight. News of the dock incident reaches Shiramatsu's leader, who gathers the clan to address the situation. Suspicion rises. Someone must have leaked the weapons deal to Shizu. While the money is safe, the bigger issue is Nick killing 2 Shizu members, which could spark a war. To make amends, the leader orders Nick to cut off 2 fingers as a show of apology. But before Nick can do it, Kiyoshi steps in, insisting that he take responsibility since he assigned Nick the task. The leader agrees, and Kiyoshi sacrifices his own fingers. The severed fingers are then sent to Shizu as a peace offering. The scene shifts to Nick and Shiramatsu's leader talking in a car, setting the stage for what's coming next. Their talk made it clear that Shiramatsu's boss, who also happened to be Kiyoshi's stepdad, was convinced there was a Shizu informant among them. Before long, he took Nick to an official ceremony, where the clan welcomed him and made his place in the family official. That night, while everyone was celebrating, Nick slipped out of the bar to talk to Kiyoshi. He came clean about his relationship with Miyu, which didn't sit well with Kiyoshi at first. He didn't want his sister getting involved with the Yakuza, fearing for her safety. But Nick stood his ground, promising he'd always protect her. Eventually, after realizing the two had already been together, Kiyoshi gave in and even congratulated Nick, acknowledging him as a brother now. Now that he was officially part of the Shiramatsu clan and had Kiyoshi's blessing, Nick decided to get the same tattoo as Miyu. She stayed with him during the painful process, explaining the deep meaning behind the traditional Yakuza body art. As time passed, Nick embraced his new life. One day, while riding the train with Miyu, he spotted one of the Shizu members who had tried to kill him back at the docks. Around the same time, Shizu representatives arrived at Shiramatsu's headquarters with a business deal. But the clan boss wasn't impressed, especially since Shizu didn't send their leader, just some young guys. Despite one of the higher-ups, Orochi, trying to convince the boss to consider the deal, it was shut down immediately. Later that night, Orochi drank with Kiyoshi, venting about how frustrated he was that their boss never listened to his suggestions. Kiyoshi warned him to watch what he said, but Orochi was already too bitter to care. The anger only grew when he later tried rekindling an old romance with Miyu, and she rejected him outright. Furious, he lashed out and slapped her. Meanwhile, a big meeting took place at a sumo match, where Shizu's boss himself finally showed up to make an offer. But this wasn't about business, it was about taking over. He suggested that Shiramatsu's boss step down peacefully and let his clan merge with Shizu. The offer was met with pure disdain. The Shiramatsu boss refused, making it clear they were wolves, not domesticated dogs that could be tamed. On another front, Nick had a run-in with an old acquaintance, Polly Bowers, an American soldier and former partner of his. Bowers, surprised to see Nick, was friendly at first but then turned threatening, hinting at exposing Nick's past. Thinking fast, Nick invited him home, poured him a drink, and then suddenly stabbed him in the neck, eliminating the threat. Afterwards, Nick went to Miyu's place, only to be shocked by the bruise on her face. He demanded to know who hurt her, but she refused to say. Instead, she dropped a bombshell. She was pregnant. But then, just as shock set in, she told him to leave her. Nick, still processing everything, went to Kiyoshi's place to share the news about Miyu's pregnancy. He also offered to walk away from the clan if that's what Kiyoshi wanted. But Kiyoshi wasn't upset. He simply invited Nick inside. There, he gifted him 2 swords, the Daisho pair, which had belonged to his father, one for battle, the other for ritual suicide. He explained how he had taken care of Miyu all her life, but now it was Nick's responsibility. Grateful, Nick took one of the swords and asked for help disposing of Bauer's body. Meanwhile, Orochi had made his way to Shizu's camp, plotting against his own clan. He was ready to betray Shiramatsu completely. The next day, while their boss was getting fitted at a tailor shop, an assassin struck, trying to strangle him. Nick rushed in to save him, and Kiyoshi finished the job by shooting the attacker. But as they fled, Shizu's men ambushed them. In the chaos, Kiyoshi was shot and killed. Nick and the Shiramatsu boss managed to escape, regrouping with the clan. They quickly realized there had to be a traitor among them. Someone had leaked their movements. Fueled by rage and grief, they vowed to retaliate and declared war on Shizu. When Nick broke the news of Kiyoshi's death to Miyu, she was devastated. Meanwhile, the remaining Shiramatsu warriors struck back, hunting down Shizu members one by one. The battle raged on, and it seemed Shiramatsu was gaining the upper hand. But then Shizu's leader played his final move, sending a child to deliver a message. He proposed settling things with a final, weapon-free fight at the docks. Shiramatsu's boss agreed, and the two clans met for a decisive showdown. To everyone's shock, Orochi was standing beside Shizu's leader, openly admitting his betrayal. Still, Shiramatsu's boss approached him, offering him a chance to come back before it was too late. Instead of accepting, Orochi stabbed him to death. With their leader gone, the remaining Shiramatsu members were left standing in stunned silence, surrounded by Shizu's forces. Orochi then turned to Nick, offering him a chance to walk away if he agreed to leave Miyu behind. But Nick refused. Just as he prepared to fight, a sniper shot him in the leg. At the same time, the police raided and burned down Shiramatsu's headquarters. But Nick wasn't done yet. That night, he sneaked past Shizu's guards to get to Miyu and take her to safety. Then, carrying the Daisho sword Kiyoshi had given him, he went straight to Shizu's stronghold. Nick formally asked for the chance to kill Orochi. But Orochi scoffed at the idea, throwing the sword back and saying Nick would never truly be Yakuza because he was just a foreigner. Without hesitation, Nick swung the blade, decapitating Orochi on the spot. Shizu's leader, surprisingly, ordered his men to let Nick go. He saw no reason to continue the fight. Shiramatsu had been avenged, and the war was over. Nick left without another word. The movie ends with Nick returning to the apartment where he had hidden Miyu. She ran to him, embracing him tightly. Meanwhile, the remaining Shiramatsu Yakuza stood around them, offering respectful bows, signaling that Nick was now the new leader of the clan.